Hey everyone, it's Joe Bladdock here. We're talking about how much of a house you can afford on a $60,000 salary. And I hope I'm not going to disappoint too many people out there today because the numbers don't look very good. The reason why the numbers don't seem to look very good, I think, is because the rates have gone so high. But let's take a look today and see just how much house someone can afford that is making $60,000 a year. And see how what kind of house you can get these days. So as we're getting into that, this is episode 178 of Canadian Mortgage Weekly. This is my podcast I've been doing now for a few years. I started this during COVID, and really excited just to dive into what kind of uh, house you can afford on a $60,000 salary. Why did I pick $60,000? Well, $60,000 is the average salary in Canada, believe it or not. It's the salary that's it's the average salary that someone will earn in Canada in as of the last um, census, I guess. And why I picked that is because we have a lot of people that have a down payment and want to buy a house, but when they come to do the mortgage process, the big disconnect is that even though they have a down payment and they don't have any debt and they have great credit, it's still hard to buy a house in 2024. And one of the reasons is interest rates. So I will get into that today because it's really important that I think it's actually really important that just everyone understand how much interest rates play into how much someone can afford on a home, because it can really affect the amount of mortgage and the overall amount of debt anyone can carry. And with the amount of interest rate hikes we've seen in Canada, the mortgage payment becomes so much higher that it's so hard for anyone to carry that amount of debt anymore. So in Canada right now, we have a $60,000 average salary for the average Canadian. We've put that into the system, and we're looking at the best interest rates right now. They're on 4.9% for a Canadian first-time home buyer. And taking into account all of the first-time home buyer programs, we're going to take into account those as well. And if you're not a first-time home buyer, you can also still go in with 5% down. You just have to pay the CMHC fees involved with that. And they're typically added to the mortgage, so you don't really feel them in the sense of a closing cost. You feel them in the sense of an additional monthly payment. But you can still buy with 5% down in 2024 if you are not a first-time home buyer. So if you're a second-time home buyer or recently divorced or just a single person looking to purchase their own home in 2024 and make $60,000 a year, this is a good episode for you to watch as well, because it will show you exactly how much you're going to be able to afford. So if your income is, if you're just joining us now, if it's 30,000 and 30,000 and the two of you add up to 60,000, this would work as well. If you have an income of say 40,000 but also earn Canada Child Benefit and other benefits, and they add up to another 20,000, giving you a $60,000 total, this episode will apply to you as well, because it's just a total annual gross income before taxes of $60,000 that we're taking a look at here. All right, so we've put in $60,000. Keep in mind here that the average Canadian national house price right now is $735,900 in April of 2024. In April of 2024, that is the most recent figure. And if you're thinking house prices are going to come down anytime soon, that actually represents an increase compared to the month prior. And it also represents a multi-month increase now. The house prices have gone up now for a few months in a row. Quite amazing to see that, considering where interest rates are at and how unaffordable housing really is in Canada right now. All right. So we're looking at a $60,000 income. If you're just joining us now, it doesn't need to be all one income. It can be multiple incomes combined, totaling a gross before tax income of $60,000. We're going to take a look at this at a 4.9 interest rate. We're going to take a look at the minimum down payment that anyone would need to put down in a property like this. And if it's a first-time home buyer, it's 5% down. And if it's a second-time home buyer or a third-time home buyer, you can actually buy with 5% down as well. Okay. So when we look at all things considered, a $60,000 home, a $60,000 income is not going to get you very much at all whatsoever. Typically in the past, there's been a little bit of a cheat calculator that mortgage brokers have used. And that is we take about 4 or 5 times your salary to find out how much house you can afford. In this case, the amount, keep in mind, the average house price is $735,900 in 2024 as of April. And right now, a $60,000 salary or a combined income of $60,000 together before taxes will get someone a maximum house of $235,000. So $235,000 is the maximum someone can afford if they have an income annually of $60,000 or a combined income of $60,000 or just a before tax income of all the types of income together, it's $60,000. That represents a down payment of 5%, which on a $235,000 home represents a down payment of $11,750. And it gives you a mortgage amount of $223,250. So with that mortgage, it does add up to a mortgage payment of $1,349.05. So I was rounding that up to $1,350. So a $235,000 home will cost you $1,350 a month, and that would be at a 4.9 interest rate, and that's including the CMHC that you're paying for as well to get in with that 5% down payment program. So now the next question is, can we find anything at the house price of $235,000? Because that's insane. Where can you find something for $235,000? I'm seeing first-time home buyers have trouble to buy things in the $500,000 price range. They complain to me all the time. I have not found what I am looking for, and I'm still looking, and I'm still looking, and I am still looking. So we're going to take a look right now. We're going to load up my favorite website to look at these things, and that's House Sigma. We're going to take a look at the map, and I'm in Ontario, so the Barrie Orillia area. But what I'll do here is I'll look at all property types that are for sale right now, and we'll put a price limit of $235,000. Okay. And we'll see if we find anything. Because guys, if we find something for under $235,000 or $235,000 in Canada, that is going to be fantastic. I'm going to say, go see this property. It's going to be selling fast. Okay, so I'm seeing a lot of vacant land pop up. So I am going to have to change the all property types and take out vacant land. So we'll just look at houses and multiplexes, link homes, condos, all those things. Okay. Let's see if we can find anything. There's a lot of things priced at $1, so we'll try to eliminate those. And we'll take a look. Well, it doesn't really look very good right now. Oh, I did find something. $235,000. What is this? It's an old church in East Luther Grand Valley. That is approximately an hour west of Innisfil. 235,000. It's an old church. It's got property taxes of $900, which is pretty great. But the thing is, it's going to really need a lot of work to get set up as a house, because looking at these pictures, it's completely unfinished inside. The person that had this property beforehand gutted it and didn't do anything. So essentially, you're purchasing a shell of a property for $235,000. Now, what I could probably suggest, I mean, there's not even a bathroom or a kitchen here, is I would suggest to keep looking. So let's see if we can find anything else here. Okay, there's some property on First Nations land. That is a trailer. And with trailers, that's a whole different story. To get a mortgage on a trailer, you need to actually own the property. And a lot of these trailers are sitting on lease land, which lease land, it's really difficult to get a mortgage on. Lease land is a type of property where you actually enter into buying the building only, and the building then sits on land that is owned by someone else, either the government or First Nations, Crown land, something like that. And from there, you have a lease that is very long, sometimes 100, 150 years, and the bank's going to want to know all that information. And if it's a private lease, like a trailer park, and you're leasing from a trailer park, those are the most difficult to do. So I always recommend not to buy those, because it's really difficult to sell those types of properties, hence the lower purchase price. Okay, let's see if we can find something else here. Something that is not a trailer and something that is not vacant land. Let's see if we can find anything at all. Okay. Anything at all here. We're just trying to find something. Okay, guys, so if we go to Sarnia, I have found a duplex up and down property for $249,000. So we'll have to get a deal on this to be able to fit it within our budget. But it is a duplex, so you do have 2 units in here, and we might not even need to negotiate that price, because with that second unit, we'd be able to increase our affordability slightly, because that second unit, then we can use the income from that second unit to help our affordability of the mortgage. And that affordability boost will be at least that $15,000 that we need in Sarnia. And then from there, we can probably buy this right at list price. Taxes are $1,213, so very good property taxes. And it does show it as a purpose-built duplex as well. And pictures don't look half bad. I mean, it's not an updated property. It does look more like a rental, but you would be buying a house, and you can move into one unit and have the other unit help with the mortgage payments. As we looked at before, a maximum house price of $235,000 would run you a mortgage payment of about $1,350 a month. If you rented the second unit out for about $1,000, that would be quite a coverage of the mortgage payment. Now, keep in mind, you do need to live in Sarnia, so that is quite a distance away from where I am at, which is the Barrie and Orillia area. Going to Sarnia is quite a hike for someone like myself. It's over 4 hours away. But if anyone wants to live in Sarnia, that is the place to be. All right, so we found a property today for the amount that we can qualify for at $60,000. It is in Sarnia. It was really difficult to find a property like that, because we found a lot of vacant land. We found a lot of buildings that were just gutted from the inside. We found a lot of trailer homes as well, which are really difficult to get a mortgage on because you don't even own the land. But we did find a duplex in Sarnia, which is fantastic. And that is within that budget. So if you're looking to buy for an income of $60,000 and you're looking in Toronto or Barrie or Kitchener Waterloo or London, you can pretty much forget about it because those markets don't have anything in that price range. But if you're looking in Sarnia, that's a completely different story. Right here, you can find a duplex up and down for $249,000. And for this person that can afford $235,000, they'll be easily able to acquire this property because that extra income from that extra unit will help them get a boost in their mortgage pre-approval to be able to buy a property like this. And a property like this also becomes very easy to sell. It's easier to sell because more people can afford this property now, because a property like this not only is appealing to a single person looking to buy a home, but also to a family that wants to offset their mortgage payments, and also to an investor that wants to acquire a rental property. Many options. And also anyone that is going to buy it or is interested in a property like this, they'll be able to use that extra income that that second unit can give them to help them qualify for that unit and help them get into a home like this. If you've ever looked at a home before, or if you ever gotten a pre-approval before, and you've chatted with the bank about getting that pre-approval, you can always get a little bit more if you can rent out the home. So if you're looking at your mortgage with the bank right now and you want to increase that mortgage or increase your pre-approval with your bank or your mortgage broker, you can ask them, well, I'm looking at houses right now where the units rent out for, say, $1,200 a month. What could that get me in extra mortgage money? What's my maximum house price now? And that will actually help increase your maximum house price and allow you to get into something else. As we saw here, we needed to do that to look at this property in Sarnia. That's $249,000. This duplex that's in Sarnia. But to be able to get into a duplex, even if my maximum budget is $235,000, I'll be able to get into a property like this because that extra $15,000 needed will be offset by that extra income that the property would be making. All right. So if you're just joining me now, we took a look at an average. We looked at the Canadian earning $60,000 a year, which is the average income in Canada as of the 2021 census. And that amounted to a maximum house price of $235,000. So in my podcast, as I started it, I did say prepare to be disappointed. $235,000, you're not really going to be able to find much for this price range. So we took a look online and we did find a duplex in Sarnia for $249,900. To be able to get into that property, you're just going to be able to need to show the bank that the duplex is earning an income for that second unit. And the bank can do that by either doing an appraisal, showing the bank that the appraiser thinks that the unit will rent for X amount, or we could look at doing actually renting out the unit and providing a lease to the lender. So what's happening with interest rates? I know that there's a rate announcement happening next week on June 6th, June 5th, actually. We'll be seeing the Bank of Canada make their next rate announcement at 9:45 a.m. on June the 5th. I'm really excited to be able to be covering that live next week here on my channel on Wednesday, June 5th. I'll be starting my episode at 9:30. We'll do a rate analysis and prediction as to all the events that got us there. And we'll announce our prediction, and then we'll announce the actual rate announcement at 9:45 live here on Canadian Mortgage Weekly. That will be episode 179. And if rates do come down, The benefit is that we will be able to see the $60,000 income earner in Canada be able to afford more home. If you're just joining me here right now, we looked at the $60,000 income earner in Canada and the maximum house price, someone that is making $60,000, which happens to be the average income in Canada right now, would be a maximum house price of $235,000. That is a very low house price. So we did find a home priced for $249,900 in Sarnia. It's a duplex. It's a 2-unit home. So someone that is earning $60,000 with a maximum budget of $235,000 could get into a home like this, because that extra second unit could help afford them that extra money that they need to be able to afford that home. A down payment on this type of home we looked at would be 5%. If you're looking at a property at $235,000, that works out to $11,750. And, it's not a very large amount. Considering the average home price in Canada right now is sitting at $735,900, we really have a hard time finding a property priced in that particular price range. Mind you, Sarnia is pretty far west in Ontario, so to live in Sarnia, you're kind of limiting yourself to where you can go, and you're quite far from places like Toronto. So if we look at rates, what do you think is going to happen on June 5th when the Bank of Canada meets to discuss interest rates? Do you guys think that they will raise interest rates on June the 5th? Probably not. I don't think they will raise rates. The inflation has not gone up. The inflation has actually gone down in Canada. We've seen inflation go down to 2.7% there. It was just announced last week. Inflation did go down to 2.7%, and that was from a 2.9% the month prior. And it's the lowest inflation yet. So really good to see that. We'll have to really see what happens in the next few months, though, because I don't think that's going to be enough for the Bank of Canada to lower rates. If we look at some other catalysts, let's look at the monthly jobs report. If there's more unemployment, the Bank of Canada will be forced to do something. Let's see. 6.1% unemployment right now, and there's no change from the prior month. So it's been at 6.1% now for 2 months. Not a very big change. Probably not very much for the Bank of Canada to lower rates on. House prices, they've gone up again last month. They've been going up for a number of months in a row. Looks like since October, we've seen house prices continue to rise. Yeah, it looks like November was the lowest, and then from there, house prices continued to rise from November of 2023. So with that, we also know that Justin Trudeau has just announced that he doesn't want house prices to come down. He doesn't want to make house prices any cheaper for Canadians. He said that just this week. He's mentioned that house prices are not going to come down, and that how that will be terrible for anyone that wants to retire. Like, this is a big retirement plan for a lot of people in Canada, and by house prices coming down would crush their retirement. And that puts Trudeau in a very big conundrum, because he wants affordable housing for Canadians and he wants house prices to stay high. So what does that mean? I think what that means is purpose-built, affordable rental housing. Rental housing in a situation where you'll have to apply to get in, show tax documents, give personal information, and then be on some sort of affordable housing through the government. I think that's really what the government's going to start doing, and they're probably not going to help reduce house prices anytime soon. Justin Trudeau said it this week. We've seen house prices keep increasing since November of 2023. We have not seen that stop. So I don't really think that that rates will need to come down as well to help boost house prices, because house prices are already going up. So, is there a case for the rates to go down next week? I don't think so. I think rates will remain steady next week. The government will probably make some comments on how inflation is remaining sticky, but has been coming down slightly. And the Bank of Canada is probably going to continue with their metric of saying that inflation will be back at that 2% target by the end of 2025 or beginning of 2026. I think that's where they've landed on the last few rate announcements. And you know what that means to me? It means to me that rates could be longer and higher for longer. And when I saw everyone do their rate prediction, June was the most aggressive. BMO did predict June. Scotiabank did predict September. So we'll have to see how this all plays out. We have just a few more days remaining until June 5th when the rate announcement comes out. If you're just joining me now, we were just chatting about rates. Are they going down on June 5th? And my assumption and prediction is no, they're not going down on June 5th. There's not enough catalyst for the Bank of Canada to move anything. There's definitely not a US movement. And if the US is going to move first, that will be a huge catalyst for Canada. However, the US is not moving anytime soon, has not moved, and I don't believe the US will move next announcement either. However, with that, we will have to see when the next rate announcement comes out, what Jerome Powell's specific comments are about that. But in Canada, I don't think there's enough catalyst for rates to come down. I think June 5th, we will see rates remain where they're at. Tiff Macklin will definitely speak about how rates are going to come down eventually, but not anytime soon. So with that, I hope that this hasn't been too much of a disappointing episode for you all. If you are looking for mortgages right now, I am still heavily advising the 3-year fixed if you believe rates are coming down, but not for the next year or two. That way, taking a 3-year fixed will buy you some time, but not lock you in for too long if you think rates are coming down within the next 5 years. If you're in the camp that you think rates might come down even sooner than 2 to 3 years, it's probably a good idea to take a variable rate then. A variable rate will allow you to catch all those rate decreases as the Bank of Canada does reduce its interest rate as we go into a rate reduction cycle. Looking at the last few rate reductions in Canada, if we look at 2009, for example, and in 2019, we did see, or 2020 when COVID hit, we did see rates fall considerably, really quickly when rate cuts did start. So, I mean, that further ingrains the whole idea that rates will probably not start coming down in June, because the Bank of Canada does wait until the last minute. And when they do cut rates, it's usually more of a knee-jerk reaction. And because of that, it's going to be later. September is my earliest assumption still at this point. That is still a few rate announcements away, because we have June, we have July, and then we have September. So if you have any questions about any of this, make sure you connect with me. You can book a time with me using the link in the video description below if you're watching on LinkedIn, Facebook, or if you're watching on Twitter. You'll be able to see that link below. If you're watching on Instagram or TikTok, you're not going to see that link, so make sure you message me directly, either through my email or cell phone, or directly through the app. Would love to set you up on your mortgage journey. We can have a quick conversation about where you're at today and where you want to be at. Perhaps you're looking to get a pre-approval, and you might be in the situation where you make $60,000 a year and you want to be able to get into the market soon, but you don't know what to do. So let's have a conversation about that. I can give you some more ideas. If you're an investor looking at buying that property in Sarnia, you can reach out to me about that as well. I have some realtors I can recommend for you in that area. And if you just want to stay in touch with me and see mortgage news as it comes out, make sure you follow my channels below. You can follow me today. I ask that you like this video so more people can see this awesome content. And thanks for watching. This has been episode 179 of Canadian Mortgage Weekly, Canada's only weekly video and mortgage news podcast. We covered how much house can I afford on a $60,000 income? And we were able to find out that we can only afford a maximum house price of $235,000 with a $60,000 income. So hopefully it hasn't been too disappointing, but informative. And we'll talk to you all later. Thanks for watching.